Hello Mech Warriors, welcome back to the Dummies Guide to Mech Warrior 5. Before we start, I want to let you guys know that I'm going to start uploading one episode of this series once a week. I haven't figured out the day yet, but it will be one episode of this series per week. And if I have time, I'm going to still upload more videos of different games, or maybe live stream some other things, but know that the content will keep coming. In this episode, we're going to go over a pretty interesting weapon system, the Autocannon 2. A very long-range cannon that deals low damage, and as with most of the cannons we're going to be going over, weight has to be considered moving forward. The weight of this autocannon is no slouch. It is not light. It weighs in at 6 tons, and it is still the lightest of the autocannons in this series, which proves to have a couple upsides as well as a downside. The upside is it can be mounted on virtually any ballistic hardpoint, whether it be a small, medium, or a large hardpoint. For example, if you have a hunchback that normally has an autocannon 20 in the shoulder, you can take that out and save some tonnage with the Autocannon 2, at the cost of a lot of damage. Speaking of damage, the damage output is not much higher than a machine gun. The Autocannon 2 does 2 points of damage, whereas a machine gun does 1.5. However, there is an interesting upside that we can consider when using the Autocannon 2 over a machine gun, if you have the tonnage, and that is the weapon's range. I know we talk a lot about range on this series, but this particular series, all of the ballistics, is where we can use an interesting caveat. While technically the range on the Autocannon 2 is 720 meters, the projectile that the cannon fires is a real calculated item in the game that will deal damage to whatever it connects with, meaning the damage is not done by the cannon, but by the projectile. So in theory, if you can see it, you can shoot it. And another thing that has been added to these statistics outside of the machine gun is the projectile speed. The Autocannon 2 fires its projectile at 1200 meters per second. So if you use this within its normal range values, your shot will connect in less than 1 second. But if you want to reach out and do some damage from a farther distance, you absolutely can with all of the autocannons that produce a projectile. Moving forward slightly, there are a couple different variants that we want to talk about briefly. The burst fire variant of the Autocannon 2 fires multiple projectiles in quick succession, and that adds another statistic that we're going to be going over very briefly. It's not complicated, and it sounds like a lot of math, but it really isn't. That is the projectile spread. At 350 meters, your shots will spread to 1.6 meters. I know that seems like a pretty wide grouping, but if you have 2 or more Autocannon 2s, you don't really have to worry about that because accuracy by volume. You don't have to worry too much about the projectile spread as well, because 9 times out of 10, most of those projectiles will hit if you calculate your shots right. And a random side note here. Well, not random, but it is a side note nonetheless. With the most recent Solaris Showdown DLC, there have been a new variant of autocannons added to the game. The rapid-fire autocannons. The rapid-fire autocannons across the board, from 2 to 20, they have 3 times the fire rate, with half the damage, and a little bit less than half the heat. So there really is not a huge need to make dedicated videos for each of those items. However, if you can find some of those rapid-fire autocannons, I would recommend using them over the standard burst-fire autocannons, simply because of the fire rate and the less heat buildup. You can deal damage over time, it's just a matter of staying in the line of sight. So with all the math and numbers out of the way, let's take a look at the Autocannon 2 in action with something that I would personally kit out a mech for. And in this demo, we're going to use a Jaeger mech. Alright, let's just go say hi. I heard that. Anti-aircraft mech to the rescue. What do we got here? Sentinel and a Panther. Oh yeah. Silence. Only has a particle cannon. Here we go. Oh, a Scorpion. Get rid of you real quick. Because you have good damage potential. How are you still surviving? That's awesome. What? We got a double critical? Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. I like that. I like that a lot.
Looks like you've got their attention.
Really?
I'm showing multiple hostiles incoming on your position. Combat vehicle rolling in. Be sure to take it apart.
Alright. And there it is. The first autocannon overview. I really appreciate you guys staying to the end. Stay tuned for more weapon overviews as we progress through every usable item in MechWarrior 5. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week.